Hello and welcome to another episode of Supercoach Insider. My name is Chris, and today we're going to be going through the new and improved Chris's team, filling through all the carnage, obviously, that's happened in the preseason, which is ridiculous. I actually don't think that there has been a preseason that has this much preseason carnage. I couldn't tell you the year. It's absolutely mind blowing. So just to keep Supercoach personnel and others, it's just been crazy, right? Really interesting off season to say the least. Couple of things before we start. So first and foremost, shout out to Supercoach Swordplay, so Supercoach with DR, Janath, and all the crew for having me write up about Collingwood in their preseason guide. Definitely check that out, guys. Link will be in the description down below. And if you use the code SCI10, you'll get 10% off. Absolutely awesome. Some of that goes to charity as well. So definitely worth a read. You've got literally content creator and experts in regards to Supercoach and their teams, writing up all through the content. They've got tables of all of the different rookies and price points, everything that you could need to know about this season's preseason in Supercoach, and they update it too, which is pretty cool. It's an online doc, so definitely worth checking that out if you can. Outside of that, we are nearing the end, guys. We've got a couple of podcasts to record tomorrow night that we'll get into, and then we're going to get into our top 10 pods that we've got some special guests coming on for as well. So that is going to be very, very interesting. So tune in, guys. And shout out to Swizz, obviously still powering on with the power of work there behind the scenes. Absolutely amazing job in this off season. I don't know how his wife puts up with it, but she does. So, and of course Ben, but who cares about Ben? All right, cool. Now moving on. Let's go. Let's start at the top, guys. Look, Harry Sheasel still hasn't left my team. The only injury that really North have had that's impacting that is going to be George Wardlaw. To me, that just means that he's likely going to get maybe even more of a mid-time split. And he's just got scope for development, even at averaging 118. I think that 115 is his floor, and he could be up to 125 plus. He's that sort of guy. He's in the same mold as a Nick Dacos, etc. in terms of the way that they play. I don't think he's quite up to that, but he's got a couple of years on him, so we'll see how he goes. Sheasel's just a lock, in my opinion. I know he's expensive. I know the game's changed. Some people just have a blanket rule: don't start guys over 600k. I personally think you've got to start a few, just to at least have some decent, solid captain options that you can refer to, and that's an important consideration for me. So Sheasel's locked there. D2 is where it gets a bit interesting. Now, at the end of this video, I'm just going to go through and show you how my team changes slightly when I go to 5 at the back, or 5 premiums at the back. Right now, I have 4, like when I say premiums, they're loose premiums. But I extend it to 5 to take another rookie off the field, and that's an option moving forward. However, I actually prefer this now. And I'm not so concerned with the scoring on field with D6 because we have the flex position. And we've also got best 18 for 3 of the first 4 rounds. So to me, it's not as important at this stage. But see how we go, right? I'm also open to be able to change it. There have been a couple of rookies that have stood up recently that have changed this, right? So I'm just going to go bang, bang, bang with this, guys. So my D2 now is short. Where are you short? 442, right? Yep. Now, played great in the preseason. Obviously, he's the target down back. Me and Swizz have gone back and forth on this. Now Swizz is saying, "Oh, actually, I might get short after all." What did he get? 25 touches. I think he had 20 at halftime. 6 marks. 1 free for, 1 free against. A point for 107 Supercoach. What do I think he does? I think a flat 100 is doable. I think 105 is like upper echelon. I don't think he's going to be able to surpass that. That would be peak. Personally, I think he's 100. Priced at 82. That's 18 points on his score, like on his what he's priced at. That's good value. Do I think that he's going to be a keeper season long? He could be. He could be a D6. Am I banking on it? No. Am I happy to flip him? Yeah. If someone presents value or as a guy that drops because of an injury or whatever it may be, and I can flip short to that person, I'd do it, Um, other options, in D2 that people are looking at, I still think Luke Ryan's kind of really been overlooked this preseason, only 8% of teams. Whitfield again got a knock last night. For those that I was on Whitfield last year, and I think that there's a lot of FOMO with this pick. I think that everyone that's picking Whitfield is just like, I didn't pick him last year, and he just tore me up. Watch him play. Watch him. Because he is very Nick Martin. And what I say by that is because he gets so many uncontested possessions, he needs to get 30 plus to get 100, and he needs to have a high DE. Now, generally he does, but when he gets pressured or when they decide to put some work into him, doesn't happen. Just be wary of the pick. Know what you're getting yourself into. I'm not doing that again this year. Personally, not doing it. Okay? Not for 600 grand. Whitfield at 500 grand or 520, 530, I'd be all over that pick like in a heartbeat. But not for 600k. You won't find me doing that. Dane Zorko, 36 years old, coming off a personal best season, an All-Australian season, injury history of calves, quads, hamstrings, Kitty Coleman coming back, the worst buy in the game. I don't know why you're spending 600k on him. I understand if Dean Zorko again was 500k or 450k. I totally get it. I understand that he looked amazing the other night, and he will continue to do so. And he's probably going to be one of those guys early in the season you're going to be like, oh, I wish I had Zorko. But I'm not spending 600k on a guy that I'm probably going to flip, if I'm honest. I don't see that. So for me, it's just too much money to invest in a guy that has too many question marks. Jack Sinclair, still in 10% of teams. I think we need to see a little bit more as to what his role is going to be. Is he even playing this afternoon? I don't think he is. Subject to fitness test is what they've got on Supercoach here. Houston looked all right, but again, that worst buy, you're basically paying almost 600k for him. I think you get him cheaper. He misses round 0. So we don't really get to see it too much. Nick Martin's interesting, but 6% of teams, 566k. Is he better than 105? Probably not. Probably paying what you're going to get from him. Jordan Clark, you're probably paying what you're going to get for him. Ridley, I think you're probably overpaying. Wang is something. Wang and Emilira, someone I'm looking at heavily. So 543k. Does he have points to gain? Yeah, I think so. I think maybe 105. But is 5 points per game worthy of a selection? Maybe. I think between him and Max Holmes, they're very similar picks with similar upside. Probably 5 points per game each. Except Holmes has a really bad buy and Wang does not. So if I was flipping between the two, I'd be on Wang. I was not dismissed by James Sicily's game. So James Sicily had, I'm just going to pull up his stats. Sicily, 24 disposals, including 17 kicks, 7 marks, 6 tackles, a free of 4 and a free against. He had 108 fantasy, but only 88 Supercoach. Now, that's not normal for Sicily. He usually has a positive Supercoach to DT ratio, and he was swung forward at times. It was late in the second quarter and late in the fourth when they were trying to win the game, which I think is the way that they're going to do this, right? When they want to up their offensive ability and trust the guys at the back and get someone forward, it's going to be Sicily because otherwise he's playing loose in defense, which is fantastic for his scoring. So I do not hate the Sicily pick. I think that he's got points to make. I think that premium Sicily is worth 115, right? He's not quite there because he's going to be swung forward. So maybe 110, 105 to 110. There's 5 points at least on his price, maybe 10 and maybe 15. I think he has the highest upside of guys at this price point, which is why I'm interested. It's a high risk, high reward pick. Sign me up for it, right? I'm also still interested in Bailey Dale, and I don't know why you wouldn't be, outside of the fact that he's obviously coming back from an injury, which I believe is I want to say quad. I could be wrong with that, but by all reports, he's targeting around 1 return and he'll be back. Is there price on his head as well? Value on his head? Yeah, a little bit. Because you got to remember he was sub and thinking round 5, and until then he was only averaging like 80, and then he ended up averaging 98 for the season. And from that stretch, I think he went 105, including a 47 late in the season. So, yeah, out of those picks, I mean, I probably prefer Sicily and then Dale, or maybe Wang. Dale or Wang are very close to me. I don't know which one I'd choose. But from here, I just go straight to the value, right? So last night, Matt Roberts put up 119, and he's jumped up in ownership to 10%. I think that should be higher. I think it should be like 30%. But who knows what's going on with people. We saw it last year, right? He averaged 99, I believe, in games where he led the kickouts. He averaged 99 or a little bit more than that. I think it was just over 100 after the bye when he stopped being the sub. By all reports, he's locked down that role. Last night, he looked fantastic, doing whatever he wanted. He had, I think it was like 11 marks last night. So they're clearly looking to get the ball in his hands. Yeah, 11 marks, 27 disposals, including 20 kicks, 11 marks, and 1 tackle for 119 Supercoach. Like, that is the traditional halfback seagull, and I'm okay with it, right? Perryman, 17%. So he's jumped up quite a lot. I've obviously been hot on him for a while. If you read the Supercoach Sword Play write-up that I have on Perryman, he was the mid-pricer that I was mainly looking for from a Collingwood perspective. He has the role. CBA role's there. They've still got an injured Degoe. They've still got an injured Mitchell. He's not going anywhere. He's trained all season as a mid. Pendlebury, in his podcast that he's released, if you want to check that out as well, so it's actually a really good listen, said that he reminds him of Luke Ball, and that is a very good comp because Luke Ball was a low 20s averaging player with high disposal numbers that was in and under everything. And that's what I think about when I see Harry Perryman. Obviously, he had a fantastic start to the season, but it was Richmond, so let's try not to read too much into it. So 20 disposals, 2 marks, 10 tackles, 1 free against and a goal for 122 Supercoach. Just so contested when he does touch the ball and very efficient with it. Now, obviously, if I was going with that 5 system, I would obviously have, one of those Sicily or Dale or whatever, or Wanganeen, Miller types or whatever it may be. But now I just go straight to the rookies. Now, the rookies here, I'll go through the ones that I'm definitely on, which is obviously Zach Reid. From a scoring potential side, he actually hasn't been too bad. Taking intercept marks, good use of the football. It's more about can he just stay on the park, right? And then, of course, Bo Allen. Again, job security, great. Scoring potential, not amazing, but I think you just got to have him, right? Like, it's weird. And then on the bench, so it looks like Patton is probably going to play. He wasn't amazing last night, but he scored. Like, what it was Patton last night in terms of Supercoach scoring. Here we go. 61. I mean, that's all right. 15 touches, 4 marks, 1 tackle, 61 Supercoach. Bice, 14 touches, including 11 kicks, 4 marks, and 2 tackles for 67. So Bice is the other one. I think only one of them plays, to be honest. It's either Bice or Patton. But Patton had the starting role. Bice came on later. So for that reason, I've just got Patton for now. But I'm happy with running Bice here, if that's the case. So Bice is only 113K. So there's a couple of others. So Trainer from the Richmond. Abs Magic loves this guy. So I'm, as he's really hot on Richmond. He really believes in this pick. But unfortunately only played half a game. But of the game that he played very well. And in the game, I think he had 12 disposals. Let me bring it up. Trainer, 12 disposals, 7 kicks, 5 handballs, 4 marks, 2 tackles for 39. So not the incredibly efficient, but for a half a game, not bad, right? And then the other pick is Leak, who, by all reports before yesterday, I was off him. And then yesterday, for some strange reason, he had the most CBAs for the Giants. That's interesting. So I've put him back into my team. He's probably more of the on-field scorer, and you can put Allen to the bench. But yeah, that's my defense, guys. Now, moving on to the midfield. Now, obviously, the big news, if you live under a rock, is Marcus Bontempelli is out for 4 to 6 weeks, which really shakes up the Supercoach environment. Zach Butters also out for 4 to 6 weeks. So the top two that would have been the top 2 selected players in Supercoach. Right now, you can't pick them, right? And now a lot of people have just gone over to Nick Dacos. And look, I love Nick Dacos. All right, guys. I'm a huge fan. I'm probably his number 1 fan. Just saying. I personally believe that he's the reincarnation of Gary Ablett Jr. I think he's that good. I just can't pick him. There is a potential 3 or 4 tags coming in the first 4 or 5 rounds. And we went through this last year. Definitely there's a situation where he comes out of this laughing at me with egg on my face. 100%. But I think round 0, he'll get tagged by Bedford. And we'll get a little bit of a look. So I'm not locking him into my team at this stage, and I won't be. I personally believe it's a mistake when you select a premium that has an early buy, a really bad buy, might I add, and lots of tag potential, and a really rough draw for those first 4 to 6 weeks. And the one shining light is they face GWS without Tom Green. Then they face, I think it's Port with no Zach Butters. And then what's the one after that? There's they have 4. They play Dogs without Bontempelli, and then they'll go into Carlton, who he usually bunnies and just laughs at them. So, I personally just don't think it's a great pick. Personally, I wouldn't do it. Trawler's obviously injured. My pick at the moment. So my M1 is Caleb Sarong. Their draw is just too good to refuse. And if you have a look at it here, so after they get through those first 2 rounds, which are a little bit more difficult, but now with news coming to the forefront, Errol Goulden is out for a few months, which is just incredibly sad for football. Errol Goulden might be the guy that I like or enjoy watching the most outside of Nick Dacos. I would say that that's an absolute guaranteed truth. He works harder than almost anyone in football. He's so sublime with his foot use. And he just does all of everything. He's a footballer's footballer. I love him so much. And it's really upsetting when someone so talented gets injured. So don't love that at all. But once you get through those first 2 rounds with Caleb Sarong, West Coast Dogs without Bont again, and Trelaw for that matter, Richmond, Melbourne, Adelaide's just chalk and cheese. St Kilda, Collingwood don't love that. So Gold Coast a little bit harder, and then Port, Gold Coast, North. I mean, it just keeps going. Essendon, St Kilda again. And then they've got, in the back end here, 19, 20. So you got Pies, West Coast should be scoring good. Carlton maybe, but Port again. And then Bulldogs again at the end. Like the Freo draw is really good and really friendly for midfielders. Brayshaw is also obviously another one that you could look at in this position, but I like Sarong. I think that it's Sarong's year. I think he's really got a potential to win the Brownlow. I think he's the main competition to Nick Dacos, if I'm completely honest. So I go there. And let me pull up my team before I go into the next one, because I'm pretty sure I know the next pick, but I'm just wanting to make sure. But yeah, guys, honestly, Sarong's the guy in my opinion. All right, now this hasn't changed from my last. I think I had him on my last one, but Noah Anderson, guys. Now I get the trepidation with Noah Anderson. Okay, so the negatives on Noah Anderson, buy. However, I don't have anyone on that buy, so he's the only person that I will be running on that buy, which is the round 2 buy. You could not start Noah Anderson, and if he starts hot, pivot to him. I think he's going to start hot, guys. I'm going to be honest with you. Last night, he was the highest scoring Supercoach player. Let me pull up his stats. Wow, no, Powell actually had 126, but he had 124, including 35 touches, 5 marks, 2 tackles and a goal. Now, obviously, Sydney were without, some big mids. They were basically playing a B mid team, but I expect that to be the norm. What we know about Noah Anderson is he's got this massive ceiling, and his floor is incredibly low, right? He's popped out, multiple 50s in seasons before. Hasn't been able to show the propensity to shake a tag, and I think this year is the year, right? I think this year is finally the year. I was hot on him last year, and usually when you're hot on someone for a specific season, it's the following season that they go big on. Noah Anderson is up for me this year. He's now has the captaincy. He's not going anywhere from that midfield, and I think Gold Coast are going to be very competitive this year as well. So he's a pick that I want to get on to bang on about his start to the season, like realistically. So we've got Gold Coast versus now the again another caveat to this. Okay, so last year his scores at home versus scores away were like night and day. So we've got to put that into perspective. But they play a lot of very easy teams. So West Coast obviously in round 1 at Optus though, that's the concern. Then Melbourne away might not be the greatest of fixtures. Might be a good fixture for him. Who knows? Adelaide at home should be a good fixture. North Barossa, so that's gather round, of course. Then Richmond. So that first 6 rounds, or 5 of the first 6 rounds, just absolute goldmine for Gold Coast. All right, and that's where I want to be on him because he doesn't play. Do they play Richmond? They do play Richmond later in the year, but they don't play North again, and they don't play West Coast again. Right, so if I want to try and take advantage of him, it's got to be off the bat because you're not going to get those fixtures again. So yeah, Noah Anderson's my guy. He's the guy I'm going with. Now I had Ed Richards here for the longest time until he still hasn't fronted up. Now reports are that Ed Richards will still start round 1. At this stage, I've got Rosie in this spot. Now, Rosie, I was never on the entire preseason until Zach Butters went down. Now he's basically got a guaranteed top 2 CBA role in at Port there. I thought he was the guy that was going to go forward a little bit further. Now I'm more optimistic in his role. So it's either him or Richards. This is one flip up that I would say. Richards obviously is coming off an injury, right? A calf. Now sometimes calves can linger and they can be reoccurring during the season. Richards is going to be lent on heavily this year, especially with Bont out early, Treloar out early. It's going to be Libba, it's going to be Richards, and then probably Sanders and Matt Kennedy and Harms and these rotation of guys that are just not good. So I do think that Richards has a really high upside, especially in the season, but I just don't know if I can trust that calf yet. So I might make that call closer to the season. At this stage, the safe pick's Rosie. He's got a great short-term result. And you could also flip him to, say, a Dacos, right? So you carry this through the first 6 rounds. When Butters comes back, bang, flip Rosie over to Dacos. See you later. Thanks for coming. Like, it's not a bad little idea. So I don't mind that. But we'll have to see how we go. All right? Now, at 4, I've got Clayton Oliver. Bio reports still, I don't know why you wouldn't have him. And then Chera is in 5. So, once we found out that Jagger Smith went down, he was a lock for me. Because I was considering, I'm like, if Chera's the third mid, and if he's the third mid, you've got Jagger Smith there, you've got Hewitt there. Maybe he's even 4th, maybe 5th at some games. I don't know if there's enough of a midfield role for him. Jagger goes out, and yes, Jagger in the preseason was actually playing a little bit more of a half-forward role. What it does is it sort of cements Chera as either a top 3, top 4 CBA guy. And it'll depend on what they do and how they use Hewitt as to how much of a CBA he got. But last night he was fantastic. Again, 2 nights ago, I should say. I think he scored 108 Supercoach off 21 disposals and a goal and 5 tackles. Like, guys, come on. We know what he can do when he's fully fit. This is a pick that I think can go 105 plus. So he's got another 20 points on his price again. So very similar to these 400k guys in the back. I think that Chera is a guy that could do that. Do I see him as a keeper? Maybe, but I'm not writing it in. I'm happy to flip him. Oliver, I see as a keeper. Like, I do see him as a guy that can go 110 minimum. But a lot to play out. Now, incoming the rookies. Now, in no particular order, actually kind of in a particular order, I will say that these rookies are now pretty much set in stone. All right? We've got enough information and seen enough that we can go, yep, okay, I know what we're doing. Nod. Nathan O'Driscoll, he's done it before. He's scored tons regularly a couple of years ago, then had an injury season. This year looks to have that wing roll sewn up. We know what he can do. He popped 100 in their intra-club last week. Yeah, I'm going to go with Nod. Sutters, again, same. 31, I think it was 31 touches or whatever it may be. It's his time. He's going to get the CBAs. They're moving people around to make sure that happens. All right. That is absolute going to happen. And then the last one I've got in this spot at the moment is Levi Ashcroft. Again, he's basically Will Ashcroft. Like, I couldn't tell them apart outside their numbers the other night. And they were almost going like disposal for disposal as well. I think he ended up on 81 Supercoach. I think you got to have him somewhere, whether it's on the bench, whether it's there, it doesn't really matter. Over here, onto this bench here, someone who's been hot, I've been hot on, but now hotter. So Sheldrick, who was probably a likely sub candidate, now comes in as a guy that is going to play regular minutes because Errol Goulden's injury, right? So I think he was one midfield injury away from getting time. There's the injury. Out for a few months. He should make an absolute mozza. I'm really hot on him now. Nevitt, he had the highest CBAs, I believe, the other day. He should be a guy that also makes a lot of money. And I've got Reed in here. Now, Reed could be... So I'm literally flipping up between Reed and Elijah Hewitt at this point. Hewitt, a little bit... I think he only played a quarter in the last intra-club. Is he going to be right for round one? Is he named? Is he a sub? I don't know. There's a lot going on with Elijah Hewitt at the moment. And so for that reason, I've gone with Reed, but I could also flip and pivot, right? So one of those guys will be in there. I've talked to a lot of Freo supporters, and they are hot on Reed. And they've told me that Freo actually rated him as a top 5 selection, and they got him at, I think, 17 it may be, which is massive. And they also say that he's leapfrogged guys like Simpson, guys like Erasmus, and others to be best 22. And so... yeah, so for now, I'm okay with it. Well, there's a little bit to play out. Still need to see their preseason game and see what the results are of that. But I'm on it for now. Okay. Now moving on. Oh, there's also Langford. I will say that I'll skip ahead to flex. I've got Langford in at flex while we're talking rookies. The Melbourne Langford, he is everything that he was touted to be and more. So clean around the centre square. He looks to have a role sewn up. I don't think he's a sub risk at all. I think he'll score really, really well and make a lot of money. All right, moving on to the rucks. Guys, I have floated through this, and on the last podcast, I said, all right, I'm done with this, playing around, blah, 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 ruck, merry-go-round. So it's just Gorn and Cherry, that's it. That's all I'm doing, right? Well, I'm back on the merry-go-round, and I'm probably wilder than I've ever been, okay? I am locking in Lloyd Meek and Tom De Koning. So Tom De Koning, obviously, with the injury news to Pitney, yeah, I think you kind of have to have him. He absolutely went gangbusters. I think he got a 138. 138. 20 hit outs, 17 touches, 4 marks, 1 tackle. 138 from 79 AFL Fantasy. Guy is a must pick if there's no Pitney. I think it's as simple as that. I understand that, you might just want to go for the safety and security, but the upside is there. He's going to have minimum 15 points on his price and potentially up to 20. He's a good player, guys. If something does happen, Pitney comes in, be prepared to trade him or move him to flex or have a third ruck or whatever it might be, right? Totally fine by that. But I think you have to start the season with him. I think you'll fall behind if you don't. He's already in 41% of teams. Meek. All right, guys. So why am I choosing Meek? Well, a few reasons. I know that he's got the early bye, and that sucks, right? He's got the round 4 bye, right? Now, there's a couple of guys I was looking at this spot. Tim English is one, doesn't have the bye. Obviously, you could go with Gorn if you've got the cash. I just can't spend that kind of money, right? Cherry, I think much better back end or a flip option in, say, round 6, round 7. Meek. Just have a look at his starting season, all right? And then you tell me if you want him. He just came off, I think he was a 98 Supercoach before he got scaled down and didn't play the fourth quarter, right? So then he ended up on 90. He had 35 hit-outs in 3 quarters against Tim English. He's going to dominate against shit rucks. That's what Lloyd does. He will absolutely dominate the shit rucks, and against the more experienced rucks, he's not going to go quite so well, right? So let's have a look at his upcoming opponents to see if it's worth starting Lloyd Meek. So round 1, Essendon. Who's going to even be the ruck option there? Is it Nick Wright? I think it's Nick Wright, right? And Draper. Who's that? Are they just going to start with Draper? Are they going to start with both? Who knows? Either way, like Draper's a brute, but he's not a great tup ruckman. Like Meek should have this in spades. He should score well. TDK, he should dominate TDK for scoring and for hitouts. GWS, Briggs. Well, Briggs actually didn't play, just gone, but I do expect by round 3 he'll be back. But Briggs does have a propensity to give up scores as well, as big as British as he is. Round 5 is Jordan Sweet. Round 6 is SDK. Round 7 is Flynn. Round 8 is Richmond and Nank. And so the first 8 rounds might be the friendliest ruck draw that you've ever seen until they hit a real rough patch. So right before the buys, he goes Gawn, Witts, Big O, right? DCAM's not bad. That's fine. But those are 3 harder fixtures. And then another 4 easy fixtures in English, who just dominated. Adelaide with Riley O'Brien. Now, so he can be restrictive because he wins a lot of hitouts, but he's not great around the ground. So, and Cherry, he's not a great restrictor of scoring. And then you hit the back end here. So, like, even the back end again, another Port game, another TDK game, another DCAM game. The last 2 rounds aren't great. I honestly think that Lloyd Meek is a great guy that you can roll. And if you can flip him, like I'm looking at this going, all right, can I flip in round 9? Who do I want to flip to? I want to flip to maybe a Cherry, right? Let's have a look at Cherry's fixture. Because it's not great early. Here we go. All right. So he has a great round 1 fixture, but then he has a tough round 2. Again, Rob, what I just said about Rob. Grundy, then Witts, right? So these 4 fixtures are the ones you want to avoid. Really, Cherry starts his run in round 6, where he's got TDK, then Sweet, then Essendon with Draper and I think it's right. I might be wrong there. Right, so if I want to flip to him in round 8, that's not bad. But he does have Big O in round 9, and then Richmond, Nank, easy scoring, DCAM, easy scoring, West Coast, easy scoring. You know, the back end for Cherry's fixture is really, really quite friendly. But I wouldn't mind coming into a Meek to Cherry pick, whether that be round 7 or round 8, something like that. Or wait until after the bye, which is probably the best thing, and then get that West Coast fixture straight off the bat, right? Not bad at all. Don't mind that. But yeah, I don't mind that. Now, I will go straight to here. Now, I have Reedy here for now. This could be Harry Boyd by round 1, depending on what happens there. Obviously, with Max King saying out for round 1, that probably guarantees Harry Boyd's positioning in round 1 as a starter. But Liam Reedy has a 3 to 5 round head start on Harry Boyd. Do they, throw out Reedy and go, okay, we're just going to ruck with Jackson? Maybe. That's a consideration. But I think with the security here, maybe you could run both. You could run Reedy and maybe a Boyd in flex or something like that. I'm not sold on it. I'm just going to take the road that is a little bit easier at this point. All right. And the forwards. All right. So JHF means no introduction. I've done a huge bat flip on JHF, and now I'm 100% on board. Obviously, Zach Butter's out. It just enhances his case even more than what it already was. Right. Now, this is where the selection is. So Isaac Rankin is F2 right now. I didn't have Isaac Rankin until yesterday. Not on the basis of his high CBA numbers on the practice match, which he led the Crows for CBAs, right? So which is an indication that he's going to be at least top 3 and probably 1 or 2, right? That alone is going to be a bump in scoring. He's probably got at least 10 to 15 points on his price. I think Rankin's a great pick. It's just his body. And I've felt that all pre-season. I've liked him all pre-season. All the messages coming out of Adelaide are, Rankin's a midfielder. He's going to play in the mids. He's going to be that attacking force that they've been asking for in a midfield sense. And they got for like an 8-week stretch last year where he was just unbelievable, right? The thing is, if I choose Rankin, then I have to go 4 at the back. If I don't choose Rankin, then I can go 5 at the back. And that's the consideration. Especially with the really good forward rookies. And mid prices, I should say. There's just, do you really want to take that risk with that sort of D8 option that may be real shit? Really? I don't know. At this point, this is my team, and I'm sticking to it. The next 3 are really basic. Now, I will say before I finish this, obviously we've got McRae Smith, who apparently jarred his knee in doing Pilates, is what it is, and then Caleb Daniel. There's a couple here. So obviously Matt Kennedy with no Trelaw, no Bont. Matt Kennedy up here. I just thought he'd be better the other day. He played like shit. And I'm going to say the same thing about Sanders. So you could, if you really wanted to, you could jump onto Sanders, right? Who's what, 339 or something like that? Where is he? Here we go, 339. Yeah, like you could jump onto that pick, and he's probably going to go okay. There's no empirical evidence that he's a good Supercoach player. I think I looked at all of his games last year for like maybe it's a points per minute thing. Like if he's a really good points per minute player, none of that, because it's not about his amount of time on the court on the ground. He's still not really scoring that well. On the weekend, he had like meters gained of like 35, which means he's handballing backwards, which impacts his scoring. I'm just not sold that he's that good yet. That's it. And at 339k, he'll make a bit of money with a role because he's going to have a role, right? Is he going to be a keeper? No. Is he going to make enough money? Maybe. Am I just better off just investing the money elsewhere? Probably. And that's where I'm at with it. That's literally where I'm at with the pick. Now, there's another 2 guys that I like. Now, of course, Caleb Daniel, he's a genuine keeper at 269. You can't really go away from that. But I want to talk about Hugo Garcia. So by reports and what we saw in the intra-club, he's third CBA guy. So it's Steele, McRae, and him. And it was going to be Philippou, and now it's Garcia. 14% ownership. There. I can see it. And this is a guy that if I need to squeeze cash, then I put Garcia in a position. Like I would comfortably go like Chera to Garcia if I thought that there was a use for that other money and I didn't have such big raps on Chera and he didn't just blow up. You know what I mean? Like there are worlds where Garcia makes a lot of money, scores a lot of points. He might be the best mid-pricer. Well, outside of Caleb Daniel. I see it. I do see it. So if you have him, great. If you don't have him, look at him. The problem is there are already so many great mid-price options forward and so many great rookies that it's hard to squeeze them in. People are going like 3-4 deep in midfield now because they're trying to squeeze everybody in. And I'm just trying to balance my structure. It's a little bit different, right? So obviously onto the rookies now. So Kako, like unbelievable. What a debut. On-field scorer, probably. Yeah, I could see him and Davidson both being good on-field scorers. So I'll bring him in next at 113k. There you go, Sam Davidson. He played very, very well, as expected. I think he'll go all right as well. And then Connor Stone, he didn't go too bad either. Connor Stone, here we go. So that's who I have there. Now, again, you could get Elijah Hewitt in this spot. You get I think there's 5 decent forward rookies. Is it 5? Who are the other ones? So it's and Joe Berry as well is the other one, which I really like, but unfortunately in this team I just can't squeeze him in. Like my hand could be forced. I could go Reed up to that position. I don't quite have the cash to do it, but I could, change out a couple of things. If League doesn't get named, and maybe it's a Bice or something similar, or a trainer, you could go League down there, and then you could go Reed up to a Berry, fling a Kako into there and play Davidson on field, or flex position comes important there. There's quite a few things you can do in that. But I would say that those are my considerations, right? So of the rookies that aren't here that I like is Joe Berry and Elijah Hewitt. No real room for them right now, but I think this is the better use of the team. Okay. Could even go stone straight to Hewitt right now if that was the case. So I'm going to save that, and then I'm going to show you guys how it looks. Oh my gosh, this stupid. You have not selected all your emergencies. If I see that one more time, I might flip out. I'm going to go postal. Please stop it. Maybe act it once the season starts. It pops up every time you change your teams. Do you know how often people like me change their teams every day? Too many. Too many. People who watch this. Too many. All right? Anyway. So I wanted to show you how it looks like with the 5 at the back, okay, guys? So if I trade it out, let's go trade out pattern, whatever, doesn't matter. And we're going to trade out Rankin. He's the one that goes, unfortunately. So we put in let's say a Berry. Joe Berry. And then this becomes, actually I don't think there's quite enough. Might have to drop some cash. Get him down to Hewitt. Yep. And then Sicily. Oh, I'm still short. How am I short? This worked earlier. Maybe I got to go trainer here. I can do it though. There's obviously other ways that you can sort of modify. But then I get Sicily in here. All right, there we go. So yeah, obviously, backline now looks a lot better. Only playing say Zach Reed with Bo Allen and Trainer on the bench, way better. Midfield really hasn't changed at all. And forward wise, you'd be comfortable playing Davidson on field or Berry on field here, right? Like you'd be comfortable with that. I think in terms of best 23, this is arguably better. But when I individually weigh up Rankin versus Sicily, I really don't know where it stands. Here's what I will say. Rankin's guaranteed top 6 and probably guaranteed top 3. He might be 1. Like he might end the season at 1. Sicily is anywhere from top 3 to top 15. The variance is so massive. And if you go someone that's not Sicily, like, as I said, maybe a Max Holmes, maybe a Bailey Dale or someone like that, I see Rankin beating those guys in terms of average. So you're just really betting on body. I don't know. I don't really know where I sit with it. I just think that the higher upside is probably not taking Sicily. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Who knows? You guys let me know in the comments what you think I should do. Which looks better? Does it look better with 5 at the back? Or does it look better with the 4 at the back and then Isaac Rankin forward? Like, what do you guys think? Pop that in the comments. Work on your teams, guys. Personally, I'm so comfortable with every part of my team. Like, it's the first time in a long time that I'm literally down to one decision. 4 at the back, 5 at the back. It's literally based on one thing, and outside that one thing, I love the rest of my team. I would recommend, guys, something that I've made mistakes about in the last couple of years. Spend up on the rooks when they're there. If they're there, spend up on them. Because they're generally guys that have been in the system for a while. And if they've shown a lot and they look to be best 22 now, like a Sheldrick, like a Nevitt, those guys you're spending a little bit of money on, they're worth it. They are. Because I run, 120, 130K guys, and then they get dropped, and you can't trade them to anyone. They don't make the cash that you want. Spend up on the rooks when you can. All right, guys, that's me signing off. Have an awesome day. I love you lots, and I'll see you soon. Cheers.